Hey guys, this is Brad with Soldier Racecars. We get a lot of questions every day about our 4-link brackets and what the difference is between them. And so I'm just going to go over some of the basics of a 4-link, some of the terminology, and then I'm going to go over our different styles of 4-link brackets and which one would be right for you. Starting off, how to measure a 4-link and some of the terminology, basically like a 4-link 101. You always hear people talking about instant center and anti-squat. So what these two things are is your instant center is basically if you drew an imaginary line from this 4-link bar continuing on out and from this 4-link bar continuing on out, where they intersect is your instant center. So the way that I like to think about an instant center is a ladder bar. So everybody's seen an old school ladder bar. We dug this one out back off of an old rear end housing. It's all crusty, rusty, old technology. But ladder bars work. I mean, there's people that still run them. They do their job. But this is basically a great representation of if you drew your 4-link bars and you tied them together in the front, this is your instant center. So on a ladder bar car, your instant center length is fixed. Instant center length is always measured from the center of the axle tube to your imaginary point where your two bars connect together. So on a ladder bar, your bars are physically connected together in the front. So if you have a, say, 28-inch or 30-inch ladder bar, well, your instant center is always roughly 30 inches. So you can move your instant center up and down, but you can never make it longer or shorter. So this is one of the disadvantages of a ladder bar, is that you just don't have as much adjustability. You can't adjust the bars one from another. So they work, but they're just, you know, old school technology. But this same thing here, so if you imagine these two guys connecting together just like the ladder bar, where they intersect, that's our instant center. Like I said, length is from the center line of the axle tube, and height is distance off the ground, and that's what the car's sitting at ride height. So obviously these brackets would be a little bit up in the air if you were measuring it. So that gives you your instant center length and height. So the other thing that you always hear everybody talk about is anti-squat. So what anti-squat is basically the resistance to the car to squat. And how we measure that is the neutral line, or the anti-squat line, they're the same thing, is basically a line basically from the bottom of your back tire to the top of your front tire, roughly. It has to do with the center of gravity and stuff, so it's not exactly that, but that'll give you a good idea of where the neutral line or the anti-squat line in your car is. The bottom of the back tire to the top of the front tire. And there's a line that runs through the car. So if your instant center falls below the anti-squat line, then you will have less than 100% anti-squat, and the car will squat on launch. If your instant center is above the neutral or the anti-squat line, then you will have over 100% anti-squat, which will make the car separate on the launch. So typically, any small tire car that we set up, we want it to separate, and you know, to plant the tire on the hit, and then it'll separate as the power comes in. So basically, when we're setting up a small tire car, we're typically looking for an instant center of 30 to 40 inches long. It'll normally end up somewhere in the ballpark of 7 to 10 inches high, depending on ride height, tire size. And then we want our anti-squat over 100% so that the car separates and plants the tire. So, you know, obviously 101% anti-squat isn't going to separate very much. 200% anti-squat is going to separate a ton. So that has a lot to do, your anti-squat number has a lot to do with how the car is going to react at the release of the trans brake button on the launch. So when you're measuring for your instant center, there's a couple different ways that you can do this when you're measuring it. Obviously, you want the car at ride height. It's easier to get it up on blocks or something so that you can get underneath the car and take some measurements off the ground. A 4-post lift is amazing if you have access to one, but for people that don't, if you can get the car up on blocks or something, you want the car sitting at ride height, but get it up in the air where you can roll underneath of it and take some measurements. You're basically going to be measuring from the ground up to the center of the bolt on all your points, and then from the center of the axle tube forward to your points. And then if you want to be really cheap and easy about it, you can actually lay this out, and I'm going to pick on Martin Conley. I've actually seen him do it on poster board or cardboard. Like draw it out on the shop floor and connect your imaginary dots with a straight edge, and you can actually plot out your instant center right there with a ruler and some paper or cardboard. But there's also a lot of great tools online. There's some free 4-link calculators that can help you plot all this out, and you punch in your dimensions up off the ground and forward from axle center line, and it'll tell you what your instant center length, height, and your anti-squat are. I think the baseline suspension one is free, and it'll get you in the ballpark. Obviously, you get what you pay for. So the more expensive ones, are going to have more features. McCamus and Performance Trends and a couple different ones that I've used work really well. The Performance Trends one is probably my favorite. One of the things that it does is it actually, you can actually plug in your 4-link, your instant center and everything. It'll give you your instant center, but then you can also do dynamic changes, and you can actually see how the instant center changes as the car separates or squats, and vice versa. And that's where things drastically change. You can have a traditional 4-link car, or you could have a Mustang with the same instant center length and height and the same anti-squat. And that's great and all, but they are only the same at ride height. As soon as that thing separates at all, they change completely different. They act completely different, and I'm going to show you guys why. So this is a traditional 4-link, and the upper and lower bars are the same length. This 4-link right here in this example has 20-inch bars center to center. That's pretty common. We make a lot of them about this length, especially for small tire cars. A lot of your higher horsepower cars and your big tire cars, especially like your Pro Mods and stuff, might have a 22 to 24-inch length 4-link bar. But they're all going to be roughly in that range normally, 20 to 24 inches center to center on the bar. And so this 4-link right here works really well for a high horsepower radial tire car, like a Radial versus the World car, Pro 275 car, LDR car, something making really big power, is where this 4-link works really well. You could also use it on a big tire car or a slick tire car that's racing on a prep track or even no prep, but this 4-link really works the best for like a high horsepower radial tire car. And the reason that is that the 4-link, the instant center, right now I have it plotted out at about 38 inches long, which is pretty normal for a car like this. And when this thing separates, the instant center will never grow in length because the upper and lower bars are the same length. So it's just like the ladder bar I showed you guys earlier. The instant center will only move up and down. So the instant center is not only where you're imaginary pushing on the car forward, and the axle is rotating around, but the instant center is also where you're pushing up on the car. So when this thing separates, you're pushing up, your point imaginary where you're pushing up on the car is 38 inches forward of the rear axle. So that's well behind the center of gravity. So what it's going to do is it's just going to keep going up, and the anti-squat's going to keep going up, and you're just going to pick the back of the car up. And that's why you see all these Radial versus the World and Pro 275 cars separating, you know, 5, 6, 7 inches. And the reason they're doing that is not for traction, but it's 100% for anti-power wheelie. So they're basically trying to pick the back of the car up to drive the nose of the car down towards the ground to keep it from power wheeling, and it works really well. So that's where this 4-link shines really well. The downside to this 4-link, if you have a lower horsepower car, is that with the 4-link bars, as long as they are, that it's a little lazier on the hit. So to compare it to like a Mustang has a really, really short upper bar. This is actually one of our 9-inch Mustang upper control arms. You can see the difference, and these are a short 4-link bar for a 4-link. You can see how much shorter the Mustang upper bar is. So this short upper bar is going to cause the 4-link to act a lot faster. So when you let off the trans brake button, a Mustang, you can watch it. It shoots the rear end out, you know, smashes the tire real hard, sticks the tire. They work really well at getting off the starting line because they slam the tire into the ground really hard. This thing is going to be a lot more mild on the starting line. It's going to separate a bunch, but it's kind of like a more gradual separation as the power comes in. A Mustang, it fires the rear end out almost all at once, and then it's done, you know, doesn't separate a whole lot. It's boom, and then just kind of holds it there. So completely drastically different between the two. So because of that, you know, like a Mustang we've found works really, really well on low prep, no prep, mildly prep tracks. And a lot of the reason of that is because of the shorter upper bar, you know, hits the tire really hard on the hit, and they separate pretty quickly. So because of that, we've designed our Radial tire 4-link. You can see how it compares. So as you can see here, our my Radial tire 4-link has a much shorter upper bar. So it's basically a hybrid between a Mustang and a traditional 4-link. You can actually see, you know, the difference here. This is your Mustang bar. This is our uneven 4-link setup, and then this is a traditional 4-link. So you can see very short, medium upper bar, really long upper bar. So what our Radial tire 4-link does is, with that shorter upper bar, is it allows you to hit the tire harder on the hit than a traditional 4-link, but not as hard as a Mustang. If you got a Mustang and you're leaving on a lot of power, it's really hard to control how hard it hits the tire on the trans brake release. So this upper bar is a little bit longer than a Mustang, so it tames that down just a little bit, but then after that, it still separates pretty quickly. The other nice thing is, because of the shorter upper bar, you can get a lot more bar angle downhill, which will shorten your instant center up. So the shorter that you make your instant center will make the bars act shorter. It'll make the car separate faster the shorter the instant center is, just like you shorten your ladder bar up. The longer you make your instant center, the lazier it's going to separate. So this is going to speed it up a little bit. Like I said, it's a nice medium between a Mustang and a traditional 4-link. And I had designed this originally for a lower horsepower Radial tire car, or a Radial tire car on a mildly prep track. So when I say mildly prep, I mean bracket prep to light Radial prep, something like that, a lightly prepped track on a Radial. That's where this 4-link really, really, really shines. And that's why Mustangs work so well on those type of surfaces, is the shorter upper bar allows you to separate quickly off the starting line, plant the tire, and drive. So this guy, and when I say lower horsepower, I mean, I'm talking like ultra street cars, 1,000 to 1,500 horsepower, cars like that. X275 is kind of those cars are kind of a weird bird because they're kind of stuck in the middle of, you know, they're 2,000 horsepower or so, but they're going really, really fast. So they're on the verge of needing to separate the car to combat wheelies. Depends, you know, on the wheelbase of the car and a lot of other things. But an ultra street car is pretty easy to maintain wheelies on, just because they're normally 1,500 horsepower or less. So your average 1,500 horsepower or less car on a radial, maybe on a lightly prepped track, is what these were designed for. With that being said, so we started trying these on a slick, on no prep type surfaces, and figured out really quickly that these things work really, really well. And so the slick on no prep, that little small 28-10-5 slick, it actually likes to be separated and stuck down to the track, just because that little bitty slick doesn't like a ton of wheel speed. It's completely different than a big tire. It'll take a little bit of wheel speed, but you got to try to keep it stuck for the most part. So this shorter upper bar really helps plant the tire, especially on the hit, and work really well. We've seen, you know, Mustangs have done really, really well in the no prep world, and a lot of that reason is because of that short upper bar. All right, so I've actually plotted out 3 different 4-links. I plotted out the traditional 4-link, our uneven radial low prep 4-link, and then I plotted out a Mustang, all 3 with the same instant centers and the same anti-squat. I set them up at a 38-inch long, 8.5-inch high instant center with 128% anti-squat. And I'm going to show you how much different these are when they separate just 3 inches. So when you separate this guy 3 inches, this is my roughly 3-inch block of wood. So as you can see, before, these 2 upper bars were on the exact same plane, and they had the same instant center. So now you can see with both the radial low prep 4-link and the traditional 4-link separated 3 inches. This is the blocks of wood are representing the body of the car 3 inches higher than it was before. The traditional 4-link back here still has a 38-inch long instant center, but it is now 13.5 inches high, and it went from 128% anti-squat to 188% anti-squat. The low prep radial uneven 4-link went from 38 inches long to it is now 53 inches long and 18 inches high, and has 178% anti-squat. So you can see the instant center now at 3 inches of separation is completely different. So if you think of, say you have a 100-inch wheelbase car that's exactly 50-50 front and rear on the scales, that's going to put your center of gravity basically dead center of the car. So we're going to call that 50 inches because it's a 100-inch wheelbase, 50 inches forward to axle center line. So now with 3 inches of separation, our low prep brackets, the instant center is now 53 inches long and 18 inches high. So our instant center now is actually in front of the center of gravity. So no, it is no longer, even though the car is separating, it is no longer trying to pick up the back of the car. Technically, it's trying to pick up the front of the car, but it's about 3 inches in front of the center of gravity. So it's actually trying to pick up about right in the middle of the car, which is really, really good for traction, because you're not just lifting up the back of the car. Now you're trying to lift the weight of the entire car, and you're using that leverage to plant the tire. Now, if we look at a Mustang, if you imagined this little bitty upper bar and we separated 3 inches, it would probably actually be going uphill. You can see this one's about flat, this one's still going downhill. If this was a Mustang 4-link, it would probably be going uphill at 3 inches of separation. It might not even get to 3 inches of separation, and I'll tell you why. At 3 inches of separation with this little bitty upper bar, the instant center, it went from 38 inches long to it is now 255 inches long and 51 inches high. So it is it's a car length in front of the car. The instant center is way out in front of the car, and the anti-squat has dropped all the way to 109%. So it would actually probably not ever get there. The Mustang with this instant center and anti-squat in it will probably not even separate 3 inches. It'll probably separate somewhere around 2 inches. And at 2 inches, the instant center is still 90 inches long and 19 inches high with 115% anti-squat. So even at 2 inches of separation on the Mustang upper bar, the Mustang 4-link, it's still 90-inch long instant center. So you can see the traditional 4-link, the instant center is 38 inches long at 3 inches of separation. The Mustang 4-link is 255 inches long. So they're completely different once the suspension starts moving. It's not even close. The Mustang 4-link, the anti-squat is going down as it separates. The traditional 4-link, the anti-squat is going up as it separates. So that's why this uneven radial low prep 4-link works so good, is it's a happy medium between the two, to where the instant center starts moving forward and up, and so it gets aggressive. It keeps wanting to separate. It keeps wanting to plant the tire. You're trying to pick up the entire weight of the car planted down on the tire. So all of our brackets here that I've shown you guys today are radial low prep brackets and our traditional small tire brackets. They both work with the same axle housing brackets. They're set up for coilover brackets back here. The coilover goes, the shock mount goes right on the back of the 4-link bracket. All of our brackets are available in mild steel and chromoly. The housing side brackets are available in 3, 3 1/4, and 3 1/2 inch tubes in mild steel, and 3 1/2 inch only in chromoly. We also have 4-link bar kits available in 1 1/4 and 1 1/2 for higher horsepower cars. So we have a lot of options for everybody, whether you're putting mild steel brackets on an 8.8 housing or you're building a chromoly Fab 9 floater. There's great solutions for everybody. This is for your lower horsepower or lower prepped track car. And then our traditional 4-link is going to be for your serious high prep, high horsepower radial car, is really what it's geared around. You know, or if you want to run them on big tires. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know, giving you the differences between this 4-link and this 4-link and a Mustang, and all the different variations, what their purpose is for. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.